Hi, I'm Paris, and I'm happy to report I have finally started hyperbaric oxygen therapy for my radiation proctitis. Just finished my first week of treatment, and as you can see, they've made me an honorary doctor already.
Paris TX shows you only the best.
Actually, the scrubs, because I'm wearing a full set of scrubs, this is required garb for going into the hyperbaric oxygen chamber. Everyone wears this. You would think maybe because they don't want germs and bacteria in there. No, they don't care so much about that. It's because it's made of 100% cotton, so you aren't going to get static electric sparks wearing this clothing. So why are they so concerned about that? Because you're going to be under pressure in this large chamber. It's actually, at the center I go to, they do 2.2 atmospheres, which equals being 40 feet underwater. That's how much pressure there is. And you're breathing 100% oxygen. So it's not a good combination to introduce any flames, fire, or sparks. I also need to wear booties, new ones each day, over my regular shoes because coming through the parking lot, they don't want you tracking in any oil or anything else you may have stepped into the chamber. They're pretty careful about that. But let me start by explaining what the hyperbaric oxygen therapy I'm hoping is going to do in theory and how it's helped a lot of other people. So if you've been watching my other videos, you know that I have radiation proctitis. It's a late developing side effect from having radiation to the prostate because the rectum is right there next to it, and it doesn't always show up right away. In my case, it was 1.5 years after the radiation treatment finished before I started noticing blood in the stool, and then more blood in the stool, and then occasionally blood escaping, even passing gas. Yeah, very unpleasant. And what happened was the radiation had damaged the wall of the rectum, and it couldn't repair itself. What I really wanted to try after learning about it was hyperbaric oxygen treatment. The way it helps is because you're under pressure and you're breathing pure oxygen, you don't have to rely on just your red blood cells to carry the oxygen throughout your body, particularly to the wounded area. With all this extra oxygen under pressure, it actually infuses the oxygen into the plasma part of the blood, just the liquid part. So of course it's in your red blood cells as well. But the issue with this kind of hard to heal wound is that the red blood cells can't always get in. There's not a good capillary structure in the tissue. So the red blood cells don't get to carry the oxygen in to feed the tissue. So it's sort of starved and very weak and it doesn't heal. But the hyperbaric oxygen therapy gets the oxygen into the plasma. So anywhere the liquid part of your blood can go, the oxygen can go, and so the cells in that wound finally can have some oxygen for energy so they can do their work and repair, build some capillaries, so you'll have continued blood supply even after the hyperbaric oxygen treatment finishes and they can't get the oxygen from the plasma anymore. So it's intended to heal very hard to heal wounds and to allow your body to set up the structures needed to keep that area oxygenated even after the treatment finishes. If it works well, you come out of it without any more problems. It's taken more than 1 year from when I first asked my doctor, my radiation oncologist, about doing hyperbaric oxygen therapy for this wound, and that particular doctor is not a big fan of it. And so it was my medical oncologist who finally referred me to that treatment, and then the treatment center said we need a definitive diagnosis, so you're going to have to go get a colonoscopy. So I did that, and finally everything was cleared and I started a week ago. I was kind of trepidatious about it. I had two main concerns which haven't turned out to really be something I had to worry so much about. But then I had other things that I hadn't thought would be an issue for me doing this treatment that almost became an issue. So the two things I was worried about going in and doing this treatment: peeing and farting. Because you are pretty much locked into a large chamber with a half dozen other people for about 2 hours. So there's nowhere you can do either of those things that it won't be somewhat off-putting to your fellow diving partners, because they do call it diving, going down the 40 feet. So since my proton therapy radiation treatment for the prostate, not only did they zap the rectum pretty good, they got the bladder as well. And so I've had to go and pee a lot more frequently. Generally have an issue going more than an hour during the day. At night, I'm usually up about every hour and a half. And so I thought, oh, how am I going to get through 2 hours of this? They do take this into consideration from how it was explained to me. They do have something you can pee in. They, I guess, hold a blanket up and try to give you a little privacy if you have to, but I didn't want to have to do that. And I eat a whole food plant-based diet. That equals producing a lot of gas. I'm eating a lot of fiber, 70, 80 grams a day. And that feeds your microbiome, which is great, but the byproduct of that is a lot of gas. And that gas hasn't got anywhere to go in that chamber. And I thought, what if they say, you're increasing the fire hazard by releasing those gases in here? So I thought, okay, how am I going to manage to go 2 hours without peeing and without farting? So what I did over the week before starting the treatment is I moved my dinner time up each day. So this would be the last I would eat or drink anything, which is normally around 6:30. Try not to eat or drink after that. Well, I pulled it all the way back to 4 p.m. because my hyperbaric sessions start at 8 in the morning. So I pulled it all the way back to 4 p.m. I thought, hopefully that'll be enough hours that everything will be out. I won't be digesting anymore. I won't be absorbing any more liquid by that point. And that's worked pretty well. I've managed the 2-hour dive sessions without offending any of my fellow divers. But that doesn't leave me a lot of time to eat and drink during the day because I don't get home from the wound care center till close to 11. Then I start my breakfast, an hour and a half. I have to try to eat my lunch, have to have a snack and a dinner, and 50 to 60 ounces of fluids all within a 5-hour window. But that's probably just me. I doubt any of the other people I do these dives with have to do this weird time-restricted eating and drinking thing. They just probably don't have to pee and fart all the time. So because of moving my dinner back so early, what I was worried about most ended up not being an issue. What I didn't think would be an issue kind of was an issue, which was being in a big metal chamber, not exactly locked in, but because of the pressure, I don't know if they have a very quick way to decompress that could be very harmful to the people inside. It takes, from the time they switch on the decompression pump, which takes the pressure out, it's 6 minutes until the seal of the door releases. That also means there's no way to just pop it open. Anyway, so if you had to get out of there, it would take 6 minutes to release the pressure. And for some reason that kept going over and over in my head. And then again, they don't want to fill the whole chamber with oxygen. It really does make it risky. So each person wears a kind of a plastic ring that has like a latex, it looked like a drum, except they cut a little slit in the center and they put it on over your head so the latex goes right around your neck to not let the oxygen out. Then you have the plastic frame, and then there's a clear bubbly hood that snaps in, and there's a ring there with a gasket. So basically it keeps what you're breathing in that hood with you. It's about yay big and clear plastic. And then you have a couple hoses that come out here. One goes to the oxygen coming in, and the other goes to the exhaust so your carbon dioxide can go out. Which doesn't seem like it would be too confining unless you're the kind of person that lives in their head like I am and it starts worrying you. Can I breathe? The oxygen's on, right? Not quite a claustrophobia thing, but along those lines, both about the breathing and with a big plastic hood over my head and being in this chamber. And so on my first day, there's lots of loud sounds of the air being pumped in and your ears are popping. And I was concerned about one more thing, probably more than the farting. I was concerned that my ears wouldn't pop properly and I would have either damage to my ears and or a lot of pain and or not being able to continue the therapy because of that. But no, that was actually a breeze. Just swallowing. I don't have to do any. They tell you the other maneuvers you can do if you have some issues releasing the pressure with holding your nose and blowing. And they also, you can have a cup of water, sipping and swallowing. Well, if you've flown on a plane, you know about popping your ears. And it takes about 7 minutes of those noisy pumps pumping the air in to increase the pressure inside the chamber to the 2.2 atmospheres. Then, because you're all sitting there with nothing to do, because I'll tell you about the other restrictions in a minute, they do have one small screen up at the front of the chamber, and the person outside starts the Netflix playing. I guess they decide what to put on, because I didn't see a board being passed around where we could choose what we'd like to see. And I don't know why they would put this, but this is my very first day. I'm already now getting panicked and got the hood on. I'm thinking, oh, I'm breathing, right? There's oxygen. And thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to go through 2 hours of this? How am I going to do this day after day for 40 days? And all right, relax. It's all in your head. It's not an actual issue. And then the program starts, and it's a woman in a hospital bed, restrained and screaming. It's what was Brain on Fire, I think, about this woman who has, I guess she had a brain tumor or something anyway. It was causing her to have these different hallucinations and different things. And it was all very psychodrama, screamy, medical. Why would you put that on? It did not help me get through that first day.